Hey guys, we're here for episode 2 of season 5, 5 for talking. I'm here with Caps, the captain of the show, the muscles, if you know what I mean. He's the backup when we need it. So today we got a mix again, Leafs and NHL talk. We'll start off with the NHL stuff. So, I mean, there's a general, I think maybe league-wide consensus that this is one of the strangest starts to a season. And at this point, we're about 15 games in across the entire league. And I would say it's no longer fluke who's doing good and who's doing bad. There might be obviously fluctuations as the season goes. We obviously expect that there's hot streaks and whatnot. But I mean, I think it's safe to say that the teams that are doing well are actually good teams. So for you, just generally, are there any major surprises?
We're about 15 games in now,
Yeah.
especially if by the time this weekend is done. So, I mean, in the beginning of the season, Buffalo was on top. They have quickly descended. But surprises as of right now, I got 3, to be honest with you. I got Calgary, I got Anaheim, and I got Detroit.
I would say, considering that in the last episode we already kind of touched on Florida and Carolina, which I wouldn't say they're really surprises, but I absolutely agree with you on those picks.
So what makes it, in your opinion, why are they successful right now? I can pretty much, because of the game that I watched last night between the Leafs and the Flames, I could pretty much say for the Flames is because they have bought into the Sutter system, and that is defense first. And it seems as though it's paying off because, when I look at Calgary stats, I mean, Calgary stats, their goals for is not that great, but their goals against is one of the best in the league. And I think Markstrom's got how many shutouts now? I think he's got 5.
Yeah, I know he's leading the league. I'm not
He's
sure what
leading
the number is.
He's leading the league, and that just pretty much solidifies why he is one of the best in the league. Yeah,
So,
four shutouts.
Let's go. We'll just go by team. So we're talking about Calgary right now. I think that's a fair one to talk about. So I would say you hit every point I would have mentioned. I also just want to say they're getting their actual scoring from guys who, not to say that they're not good, because they are, but guys that are not like headline players. So you're getting a lot of goals, a lot of points coming from Mangiapane and Lindholm, who are good players, but they've never been like the main guy of a team before. And a lot of these guys are just showing up. And I think that's something that I have to make the comparable, since we watch them the most, is the Leafs, where they don't get anything from the secondary guys, really. And when they do, it's like a hot streak and it disappears. Calgary seems like their whole team is just like putting out this full effort. They played very gritty last night. I think their defensive game is like some next level stuff.
Calgary to me is last year's Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They're a really good built team.
I agree, and they've bought into a system, which is
they bought into a system. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy Mangiapane. Like he's a gritty, feisty player.
And he came really out of nowhere too. He didn't even get drafted into the OHL. He showed up, did tryouts, and then he ended up being at the World Championship. He won the MVP.
Yep.
So, good for him.
Moving on, and I apologize because it's like I know Anaheim is a surprise, but I don't have enough information on them. The only thing that I can say is that they're scoring.
Yeah, and GRETZKY is a next level playmaker who I just don't. He always has this moment throughout his career where there's one season where you forget about him, and then the next season he comes back, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's amazing. He has 1 goal right now, and I believe like 16 assists. And when I'm watching the highlights, they're all like real like assists. They're not like I shot it off the boards and some guy got it and scored. Um, so and he's a good leader. I don't know that much about what's going on there. They do have a good goalie. They do have a decent starting defenseman, like first pairing, and they have a decent like line and a half worth of youth outside of GRETZKY. So good for them. I don't think they're going to hold on very long.
They weren't up there in the beginning of the season. They kind of got up there like not too long ago. But yeah,
close.
And
games.
I think that's going to be the same thing for Detroit, because when I look at all the teams, everybody's pretty much really close in terms of how many points they have. You know what I mean? Like, you have Detroit has 16 points. Philly's got 16. You know, not too far behind is Jersey, 16, 15, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
the East is really ridiculously even. It's something we haven't seen really in a long time. A team like Detroit, though, is benefiting from teams like Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh and Boston and the Islanders not playing well. And I think that's where it is. And the youth, they're just all clicking. Like, it's all clicking. All those young guys are playing well together. Eventually, they're going to fall off. I mean, Detroit is probably, like Buffalo aside, one of the longest rebuilds that we've seen. And it's starting to pay off, which is good. But it's not yet, in my opinion.
It's not there yet.
I'd like to throw in that one surprise for me, which is the Islanders. They look not very good. Like, their record is not horrible, but they just don't look too good. I think I watched 2 or 3 games that I caught, and they just, I don't know what the hell's going on in Long Island, but it is what it is. St. Louis also looks great. I don't think anybody expected that after last season. So good for them. I mean, there's a few like LA looks really good. So anyways, let's just talk about top of the league here. Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes. And I have a question for you. Should they stay healthy? Okay, I know it's 15 games in, and I know the playoffs is a whole different ballpark, different sport, but do you think that Carolina and Florida are real cup contenders?
I think more so Carolina than Florida. I think Carolina has a better team, and I only say that because they've been together longer than Florida. They upgraded in their goaltending, and yes, I'm considering Frederik Andersen an upgrade.
That's a huge upgrade.
But it's really over the fact that they are a really, really good team. Their goals for is horrible. Like, it's not that great for a first place team.
Yeah, they have a really strong defensive core.
That's what's doing it. Because of the fact that they have a really strong defensive core is generating chances for their forwards that, you know, they could put games away. And then they could just rely on their defense and goaltending to close out games. But when I look at Florida, their goals for is 54, which means that they are scoring at an insane pace. Goals against 38, 22 points, 14 games. Carolina, 12 games played, 20 points. I'm going to go with Carolina. But yes, I will agree with you that Florida and Carolina both have chances of going far in the playoffs. Not only do they make the playoffs, but I think they go far in the playoffs.
So, wait. Way too early on, as it is.
It's an opinion. It's not a fact. But I'm saying, my opinion. Yeah.
But right now, way too early on, from your professional expert analysis.
I'm not a professional.
Professional expert analysis. I want to know: do you think that out of the entire league right now, if the playoffs just started right now, are Florida and Carolina guaranteed one of them wins the cup?
No.
Okay, so it's not like a straight up guarantee. Okay, so that's
no. Like, here's the thing, Campo. It's like, and we've seen them many, many, many times before. Okay, like Pittsburgh missing a lot of their top stars. They're not doing that great so far. They have, you know, glimpses of playing very well, but they need their top stars, and you won't really have a clear picture of what they're like unless they got Malkin and Crosby back.
No,
okay?
that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Tampa always start off slow. And then all of a sudden, maybe mid-season, they just catch fire, and Kucherov and Point and Stamkos are just like playing like fire.
I fully agree with your exact sentiment of Tampa Bay. And I think it's not, I don't even think it's a sentiment. I believe that it to be fact because they do that almost every season. But here's my thing. From watching them, I've seen a few games now. They really are terribly missing that third line. Like, it's very noticeable that when the top two lines are out, they're not a very good team. It's a completely night and day with their depth, where I think like Carolina and Florida are coming through with serious depth. A team that's really surprised me right now, like just not to go too deep back into the surprises, is Boston. Once again, not a terrible record or anything, but they thought they were going to be better this year. I mean, it's still early in the season, obviously, but goaltending seems to be a huge issue for them.
Okay. Well, Tuukka Rask is starting to practice with the team, so let's see what happens there. Probably might get some games in maybe in the next couple of weeks. I mean, when we're talking about surprises and expectations, I mean, Colorado is stinking it up right now.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I forgot about that.
So, you know, let's see what happens in the next 20 games, because I still do believe that they should make it far in the playoffs. Not only do they make the playoffs, but they make it far in the playoffs. As of right now, they are out of the playoff picture. When I look at Vegas is missing 3 of their stars, and that's Stone, Pacioretty, and somebody else I can't remember. Forsberg is out too. You know what I mean? So I think we won't have a clear picture of what these teams are like unless they are fully healthy and in mid-season form. So I know we touched on the fact that it's 15 games in and we have a clear picture of what the season is going to look like. I still do believe that it's still kind of early. And, and I honestly, I think maybe mid-December we'll have a clear
and that's a fair
indication.
Assessment. Usually they say after American Thanksgiving is when you start to really know the layout of what's going to happen, like early December. But I do think 15 games in is enough to have a general judgment. Not so much on the teams like Colorado and stuff like this, but now Arizona's not making a comeback and making the playoffs. You know what I mean? And we know that Carolina and Florida are probably going to finish in the top of the East, no matter what happens at this point.
Yeah, there are teams that we know for a fact are not going to do well. Yeah. We've actually predicted that in the beginning of the season, but there are teams that are catching us by surprise, like Chicago, Colorado.
Detroit is making us look bad right now, and so is Chicago. I understand that there's stuff going on there underneath, but like they just don't look good. Seth Jones was not the answer. Marc-Andre Fleury has played very well in his last 3 starts, but the earlier starts he looked absolutely terrible. So I don't know. I don't have anything else with this. What do you want to go into right now?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is Ovechkin. And he's at 742, just passed Brett Hall last night. And it's unbelievable what this guy is doing right now. He's got 24 points, 3rd in the league. I think we have a clear picture right now, or clear indication that he's going to catch Gretzky. And he's about 152 goals away. And yeah, it's looking like he's more and more that he's going to do it, and that's great. That's great for the game of hockey, and you know, it's a cool thing to see. So I don't know if you have anything on that.
Well, okay, so I think he's playing great this season. He's a generational talent. He will go down as one of the greatest of all time. He's arguably the greatest goal scorer who ever played hockey, especially at the rate that he's scoring at his age. Do I want him to catch it? Yes. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Is it guaranteed? No, because he's 36 years old and all it takes is one injury here and his career's over. So, I mean, I would love to see him do it, but I'm not living in the camp of it's guaranteed. But amazing season so far. Good for him. My favorite player of the modern era of hockey. So good job.
All right. Let's look at a few rumors here. And these are just rumors. They're things that we've heard in the last maybe week. You know what I mean? And one of the things that came up was Taves, because Chicago is obviously in limbo right now with everything that's going on. So one of the things that they were thinking about is moving some of their core players. And Taves to Calgary is one of the things that came up. What do you think of that? And what are the likeliness? What's the likeliness?
Okay, well, number one, that is a huge. I think. Okay, well, let me start at the beginning. I think it's very possible, given everything that's going on right now, Chicago wants to separate themselves from the past, and I could definitely see that being on the table. I do not ever think they're going to trade Patrick Kane, so I think that's off the table. Taves to Calgary. For Calgary, it's huge. It's a huge upgrade. You just lost your captain, an integral piece. I think that you're missing this veteran guy to step in and control what's happening.
Yeah, but who do you give up for that?
This is the problem. It's going to be a Tkachuk level player because they need the salary cap to go the other way. The problem for Chicago for that is Tkachuk is his contract's expiring, and he's an RFA, I believe. But I mean, I don't think that benefits either team, that trade, really. You give up your captain, and in return you get a guy that's bad in the locker room who's on an expiring contract, and going the other way, you're getting an old guy and replace for a young guy. And Taves is not putting up points at all. So, I mean,
I think Taves is perfect for the Sutter system.
I agree.
Is a defensive.
I don't think the contract is plausible. And if they retain salary in Chicago, Calgary is going to give up hella picks to get that. Calgary is going to drop like 3 first-round picks to make any retention of salary for Chicago.
Second one, Marc-Andre Fleury to the Oilers.
No.
Do the Oilers have a goaltending situation?
Yes, in the situation that Koskinen is like hit or miss. He does show really good flashes of goaltending, but Smith is just injury prone, and he's 40-something years old. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's going to save them. But at the same time, Fleury's not any younger, and I don't think it benefits either team because you're going to lose your – I mean, Chicago does have a decent backup. I believe it's Lankinen. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But he wants to shine, and getting rid of Fleury will give him that chance. But does Edmonton have salary space? Is Chicago going to hold salary space? Is Edmonton willing to give up more draft picks to get this guy that might not even win you a cup? Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to assume that a goalie is going to go the other way. Obviously, if they're going to bring Marc-Andre Fleury,
it's good. It will most likely be Koskinen.
Yeah, like one of them has to go, and maybe a top prospect or something. But I really do believe that the Oilers are all in for this season, and they're really trying to make a go for it.
The Oilers are also all in on the salary cap.
Yeah, they're all in on the salary cap as well, but they're first place right now, which is, that's like good on them. But I think they believe that Smith and Koskinen are not the right goaltenders to take them to.
And that's a fair assessment by them.
Yeah.
But I want to just factor in that the West has been superbly on a next level of weak compared to the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And their division, specifically the Central, outside of Calgary, and I think it's Winnipeg. I don't know. Sorry, my bad for not knowing that. But they're not very good. Like, look at the West right now. You have Vegas is like not playing well. I know they have injuries. Colorado. It's like the teams at the top are all unexpected teams, and I don't want to push Edmonton across the line of saying they're a proper cup contender, because when I'm watching teams like Carolina and Florida dismantle teams that are far, far better than what Edmonton's facing, I don't just want to immediately say yes to that. But I do agree with you. Fleury's better than the situation, but I don't know. It, like I said, is it worth it giving up your young goalie and a prospect and probably a draft pick to bring in a guy that might not even win you a cup?
Gives you a better chance, though.
Gives you a better chance, but it's not a guarantee. I prefer the Taves to Calgary.
Never is a guarantee.
I prefer Taves to Calgary at this point in that trade.
I have another rumor, but it's Leafs related. So do you want to do a Leafs episode, or do you want to?
Well, let's just go right into Leafs. Yeah, let's just go right into Leafs right now.
Going right into Leafs. Okay. I think you had a question about the Leafs, no?
Well, before we get to questions, let's just go quickly recap. I think they're playing a lot better. I think everyone on the team is better. My issue right now is that outside of the all-around type of game, the third and fourth lines have completely took a step backwards in terms of what they were doing a couple of games ago. I'm not going to knock them.
I disagree, but I want to hear
what goals have come from them in the last 3 games.
Kase scored 3 goals. I mean, he had a goal last night. The William Nylander goal was actually tipped by Kase, so Kase got credit for the goal. I think the third and fourth line have brought in a certain type of energy and pushback that previous lines from previous years,
which is what I want them to do.
Yeah, I get it. Kampf, and I know Bargo is not a fan of Kampf, but Bargo has to understand that
Kampf and Kasha both look great.
Yeah, Kampf to me is not a player that produces points. He was brought in
forward to play defense.
Yeah.
And he was known as being a top defensive player in the NHL for the last 2 seasons prior to coming here. So
yeah, and I think this is my assessment of Kasha. Playing with Kampf is going to benefit him as a player because now he could take some of those tools, and at certain points later on in the season, when he does get promoted to the first or second line, he can utilize those skills and actually, use them against the opposition. We know for a fact that Kasha is a very, very skilled player. And to me, based on what I saw in the last 3-4 games, I think at some point he's just going to light it up a little bit. It's kind of an oxymoron, but at the same time, he can do it. I think, in my opinion, if he can stay healthy, he is a steal right now, based on what I'm seeing in the last few games, because he's got the speed, he's got the skill. I know he's not scoring at a crazy pace, but he's playing with defensive-minded forwards, so he's not going to get those kind of opportunities. But he's generating chances, which is better than nothing. And the fourth line, to me, Simmons, Ritchie, and Spezza. I know Ritchie bounces up and down the lineup, but they've created a chemistry. And I think Simmons has been actually playing well. I have to say, I know it's not a true reflection because you're not seeing it on the scoreboard or in his stats, but he's generating a lot of chances. And it's only a matter of time before he gets a few of those pucks in the net. That's my assessment on those 2 lines. I know it's not a true reflection. Like if you're not actually watching the games, I can understand your point, but if you're actually watching the games, those third and fourth lines are actually generating chances.
And like I said at the beginning, I think that the third and fourth line, other than the all-around game that they're bringing, which is a really good, they're not producing the way they did early on in the season. But that's completely right, and I mean I don't really have much else about that. I just would like to mention that Nylander is the best contract on the Leafs. So, well, you had a question. You want to give me your question?
Oh, Joe, that's just another rumor that the Leafs were shopping a couple of defensemen. Just wanted your take on that. So they're saying that Justin Hall to the Penguins. Once again, it's just a rumor. It's not something that's actually going to happen. But the fact that they're shopping defensemen is that, what are you looking at in terms of a return? And what, in your opinion?
Another defenseman?
Yep.
knowing Dubas, it's going to be a forward. It's probably like Kapanen. Um, I don't mind. I don't care. I don't like Hall. I think he's played terrible all season. And I think Sandin looks amazing. Just shout out to Sandin out of nowhere, but I feel like I should give that to you.
Will
Uh,
agree.
yeah, just whatever. The way.
No, like in comparison to his exhibition games, he's playing a lot
Yeah,
better.
well,
He's
comparison to
actually,
we've ever seen him before this, I agree with you.
yeah,
Didn't you have anything something on Campbell?
yeah. We'll get to that in a second. So, like, in terms of what they can get in return, I would have to agree with you. They need a defenseman.
They have
They
to, but they're
need
not
a
going to get
defenseman.
it. There's no way you're trading a defenseman to a team that needs a defenseman, and you're going to get a defenseman back. So it doesn't make any sense. It's definitely going to be for picks it's going to be for like a 4th-round pick, or it's going to be for like another forward, which we don't need.
But then again, Dubas always kind of surprises us with some of the acquisitions and signings. So let's see what maybe he can muster up something. Just based on what I saw last night in terms of them facing Calgary, there are some communication miscues or breakdowns in terms of forwards coming back to back check. And I think that's their biggest issue right now. They have defensemen that can play defense, but do they have forwards that they come back and actually help with the D?
Well, since we were on that topic, can I just get this out of here? I just remembered this.
Well, let me finish my point. Sorry.
Okay, go.
And this is actually going to lead into something. So, like, if you have something, just let me know. But one of your questions was, if I had to trade one of the big four, that was in the chat.
Yeah. Well, if you had to trade one of the big four, what would you trade them for? And I want an exact return.
So last night, Calgary's goal was a result of a miscommunication between Brody and Marner. Brody had the shooter. Marner, for some reason, who was ahead of the play, who caught up to the person that actually scored the goal, for some odd reason, abandoned his assignment and went for the person that Brody was covering, which created a breakaway goal and a 1-0 lead for Calgary. So, like, for a guy that's getting paid over $10 million, it should be like, for a guy who's been in the league for what, 4 years now, 5 years, I believe, actually, that should be something that should be ingrained. Like, cover your man, like,
especially when you're considered a good defensive forward.
Yeah, like that can't happen.
But we've seen him do that multiple times now.
Multiple times, and going into the playoffs, that's going to be an inexcusable thing. Like, it cannot happen in your 4th, 5th season into the league, and you're getting paid $10.8 million. So when you're asking me who would I look at, I mean, he's going to get his points. He's going to get his points and all that stuff. But, geez, man, he needs to smarten up on his D. Like, I'm still going to go with Marner. I don't want it to happen and all that stuff. I really hope that they do well. But as of right now, it's like, it's still kind of Marner to me, because he's got jump in his game. But as you said a few times in the last few games, he still makes these blind side passes that result in turnovers and scoring chances for the opposition. So, like, that kind of stuff has to stop.
Yeah, I got to absolutely agree with you. I would have said the same thing, I think. As much as I'd love to see Tavares go, I mean, Marner has been a bigger issue. And to touch on that, what I was saying last night was a perfect example. And I noticed that he does this type of thing quite a bit. It's overtime. It's 3-on-3. You've already been on for like 3 minutes. You had 4 chances to get off the ice, easy chances where the puck went on the other zone, and you didn't. You went all the way up to the bench and then circled back and came back into the Leaf zone. Why don't you get off the ice? And you can see it. He's not even moving anymore. He has no energy, but he won't get off. And that's another thing to me that's like, just look at Matthews. Matthews got on the ice, got the puck, created a scoring chance, got off, got back on, created a scoring chance, and scored. The difference in mentality of the way that these guys are playing is so crazy. It seems like Matthews completely understands his role. Nylander knows what he has to do. Tavares is now understanding that he needs to be the leader and at least score here and there. But Marner seems to think that he needs to do everything, and if he doesn't do everything, the team is going to fail. But then he's the reason that the team ends up failing. And I just think if you're going to trade someone, it's got to be him. And I don't know if you bring in another forward, in my opinion. I think you might go for a defenseman.
I would have to probably go for a defenseman and probably a depth forward.
Yeah.
But you're going to probably have to trade a couple defensemen just to make room for that one defenseman to play, because
well, you could package Hall and Marner and do something like that, but
I wouldn't even keep Dermott either. Like at this point, because
I don't think anybody wants.
No, it's just like I think they wanted to try out this young defenseman that they got not too long ago. He's like 6'5" and a pretty big dude, and he's playing very well for the Marlies. Dude, I would try him out, see how that's gonna go. They had that little experiment.
Well, that could be the whole Hall thing.
Last night they reverted back to their old lineup from like 5-6 games ago. So they put Brody back with Riley, Muzzin, Hall, all that stuff. But they experimented by putting Dermott with Riley and Muzzin with Brody. They played well, but to have Dermott on your top two paired with Riley, oh man, that's risque, especially going into the playoffs if they make it. So
there's only 2 guarantees in a Leafs playoffs. Marner's going to get a penalty for shooting the puck over the glass, and the Leafs are going to lose in the first round.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want that.
That's 2 guarantees.
That's not a guarantee.
Those are guarantees. Anyways,
those
okay,
are not guarantees.
If you want to ask your question
about the Campo thing?
Yeah, because this is the last thing we're talking about. So if you want to talk about it, go ahead.
Sorry, because it's your show, right? Anyway, Campbell, how much can you sign him? How much? And what do you do to make room?
Yes. If he's, I think you gave up Anderson, who's like spitting in your face right now, and
not necessarily.
Yeah, because he ended up not even getting paid that much. You could have just brought back Anderson.
No.
He looks so good. Forget about the defense. His actual like stats of like shots against, save percentage, that stuff is amazing. He's playing amazing. Campbell looks great too. Campbell looks great too. This is my point though. You gave up Anderson already. You got to keep Campbell because you don't have anything else.
Okay, Anderson's not even the pitcher anymore. So anyway,
yeah, so you got to keep Campbell. You don't really have a choice. And has he played good? Yes, he's been amazing. He's the best player on your team.
Yeah.
You give him 5.5. You lock him up for 3 or 4 seasons. And you remove some of the little dead weight that you have. Maybe you finally get rid of Kerfoot and you bring in just a regular small guy.
I wouldn't call Kerfoot dead weight, by the way.
But I mean, like, contract-wise, like, it's such a massive contract for what you're getting out of it. He is very good, don't get me wrong, but he's getting paid a lot of money.
Just getting rid of Kerfoot, I don't think makes enough room.
Yeah, it does.
Well, they still got to sign a bunch of players. Afterwards.
Well, you asked me about Campbell, not a bunch of players. Okay, so that's
all fits. It all fits. I mean, do you try and get rid of Mrazek?
Yes. No? You just let him go. What is he only on a 1-year contract?
How do you let him go?
You buy him out. Is he on a 1-year contract?
I believe it's a 2 or 3 year deal.
A team will take him.
I think a 3-year deal.
Trade him to a team.
I think you want to avoid the buyout contracts because you want to end up like freaking like Phil Kessel, freaking paying them off.
Someone will take Mrazek. Goalies are not. Don't seem to be a hard thing to move in the NHL nowadays.
Yeah, the fact that the cap is going up $1 million and they're not going to pay Phil Kessel anymore makes room for Riley's new contract. But in terms of Campbell, you're he's making 1.8, I believe. You want to try and sign him for 4.5, hope that he takes a little bit of a pay cut because he wants to play for that team, kind of like what Raleigh did. But yeah, you're definitely correct in terms of trying to get rid of or moving Kerfoot's contract. But in this case, you have to try and get rid of Justin Hall's contract because, and probably Pierre Engvall as well, because
you're gonna have to get rid of You're gonna have to get rid of Engvall, Hall, Kerfoot, and probably Mrazek to get all your re-signing done. Yeah. And
that's crazy though.
Just to touch on Riley, he took I want to make this clear. He took a pay cut in the sense that he could have got more somewhere else, not in terms that he's actually worth what he's not even worth what he's getting his new contract. But in the NHL, a team will pay.
But I still respect the fact that he wants to stay.
Yes, and that's fair. Fine enough. Campbell, you need to sign Campbell. I think when we're talking re-signings, how you mentioned, what about the other people? The only person that matters is Campbell. Because
at this point,
yes. If you're a team, you're not a bottom feeding team. You're not a middling team. You're a top tier team every single season for the last couple of years. What happens in the playoffs? What happens in the playoffs? But during the regular season, you're a constant in talks as a contender. You cannot not have a legit starting goalie. You have to have a number one guy. And I think you've put all your eggs in the Campbell basket. You have to follow through now.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Anyways, he's a great goalie.
Very good goalie.
So that's all I have. That's all you have, I believe.
Yep.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think about what we said, that you think when we said it in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe.